The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss when to harvest some of your favorite vegetables, as well as out-of-the-norm vegetables that you might want to grow this year. Our guest is Danae Wolfe, bug expert and author. The hour's full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to another wonderful edition of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Happy you're tuning in, whether you're listening to us on one of the 20 AM and FM frequencies, broadcasting our program here in 2025, through a radio app, through our parent website, theWisconsinVegetableGardener.com, underneath the Season 9 tab at the top of the page, podcast replay, or in-studio video replay. Thank you so much. Want to be part of the program? Well, you can certainly do that by giving us a call, toll-free, coast-to-coast at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. Or you can send us an email to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. And let us know where you're listening from. Send us your question. We'll get you an answer. Before we get in the program, Holly, it's time for this week's Joke of the Week.
So, I was making a belt out of herbs, and you know what my friend told me?
What did your friend tell you?
That it was a waste of time.
Time as the herb.
As the herb,
All
yes.
right.
So the joke of the week is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pests like insects, wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. That's RESCUE.com.
Now, Holly and I, are in the industry of gardening. We garden. We've gardened for many years. And we know things that are, common, we think is just common knowledge. However, we get questions on a regular basis of, hey, I'm growing this. When is the right time to harvest it? Because I'm a new gardener. And that's fine. Educational, being educated and doing it correctly is what you need to ask. Hey, I don't know how to do this. How do you do it? So we're going to go over a handful of popular vegetables and greens in which you would want to know, hey, I'm a new gardener. I planted it. I did everything I'm supposed to do. When do I know when to harvest it?
This is very important because, as Joey had mentioned, you do all this work and you want to know. So,
and you want to get the most out of it. If you wait too long, it's going to spoil. If you harvest it too soon, you've lost the potential of what it could be.
Yeah. So one is like a lot of people grow leaf lettuce or salad lettuce or salad leaves, whatever. Salad greens, that's the word. So you want to harvest them when the loose leaves appear young and tender, and they kind of form almost like a full, like a heart, or like the two leaves kind of look like a heart. So they have they look like a nice leaf, not just a tiny little leaf. Does that make sense?
They're filled out.
Yeah, they're filled out. There we go.
And whenever you harvest these are typically cut and come again, meaning you can cut them and they will regrow. What you want to avoid is cutting them down to ground level. You really want to cut them about 2/3 the way up the leaf. That gives the plant plenty of energy to absorb sunlight and regenerate new growth. If you cut it at ground level, thinking I'm going to get the maximum leaf out of it, which you can if you just want to do one and done, but by cutting it down to the ground, it takes so much more time for that plant to regenerate the energy it needs in order to grow the leaves that you will lose out on that second or third harvest.
Right. So I want to touch on root vegetables because these are, I think, the hardest or harder to determine if they're ready to harvest. Obviously, you need to see some top growth. And I think that newer gardeners feel weird about pulling out one of the
sample
harvest, whatever. And that's what a lot of people have to do. So what you would do is you would just choose one, pull it out and see what happens. Sometimes you can even just kind of go around the top, especially like beets. You can see, kind of how wide a beet's going to be. Carrots, a lot of times the crown will poke out of the soil. Radishes, most radishes grow within 30 days, so you could go by that timeline. They're not typically going to get much bigger after that, and if they do, they're probably not going to be good.
Well, the beets thing, you got to thin your beets, otherwise they come in cluster seeds. You're not going to have any bulb development because that seed has like 5 or 6 tiny seeds in it. So if you don't thin them out at the time that they are like 2 or 3 inches tall, you're not going to have any beets whatsoever. And carrots typically take 60 to 70 days, give or take. So you also want to have that kind of time frame in mind. So you're not pulling a carrot at 45 days when it's still got 30 days more to go.
Right. And then potatoes, the foliage will die back. It'll turn brown, even if it's not fully brown.
When it starts dying,
brown,
you can go ahead and harvest it.
Yep. And that's something that you do want to use a garden fork versus a shovel if you can. If you have a garden fork, it's better for harvesting. Allows
the soil to fall through, and if you stick a potato, you can utilize that one pretty quickly in a dish. With a shovel, you're gonna hack it in half.
Right. So then beans, you want to make sure that they are about pencil width in diameter.
These are edible pod beans, not the hard shell beans. Yeah.
They're going to be usually like a bright green. They're kind of firm,
yellow or purple.
Yeah, and you don't want to see seed bulges. So if you can see the inside of the seed kind of bulging out, then they're a little bit overripe. So you kind of, if you're like, I'm not sure, the pencil size is probably
right. Beans are forgiving because you can harvest them small, like cucumbers, and they're going to continue to produce. So that kind of gives you a safety net that, I picked it too soon. Not a problem. Give it another 2 weeks. You're going to have another whole batch of beans or cucumbers on your vine.
One thing I wanted to say is it's ideal to harvest first thing in the morning. I know this is not always the best time for everybody, and I totally get that, but they say that it does provide for the best flavor to harvest first thing in the morning.
The plant is less stressed. Yeah. It's been cool and hydrated overnight because of the dampness in the air. So, and now tomatoes is a big one. When do you know to harvest tomatoes? Well, from the time the tomato by the time you see the flower to the time the fruit is ready to pick, it's 30 days for the beefsteak, 20 days for the cherry. If the tomato is starting to change color, they change from the bottom and work their way up around the fruit and up to the shoulders or where it connects to the plant, you can go ahead and harvest it. As long as you see pigmentation change at the base of that tomato, you can harvest it, bring it indoors. You also want to harvest your tomatoes prior to, if you've not been watering regularly, prior to a rain, because they're fine now. They've been stressed. They need water. It rains. They suck up all that water and they start cracking or actually busting open because they suck so much water up. The skins cannot expand to accordingly, and they bust open.
Right. So then let's talk about peppers. You can tell when they change from green to red or yellow, which indicates the peak flavor. You can harvest them when they're green. That's no problem. Or you can wait, whatever. If they're hot peppers, when they are that whatever color they're supposed to be, that means that they're at their peak spiciness. So if you're growing a jalapeno, it's not usually going to turn any other color but green. They're red jalapenos.
They're red ones if you let them wait long enough. And if you want it hotter, cut the water off on it. Stress that plant out, and they will get a higher capsaicin rating. But peppers are kind of on the other side. You can leave them on the vine as long as you want, and they will change color. You can harvest them, whatever variety of pepper you've got, whether it's a Hungarian Swede or a bell pepper or anything. You can harvest them pretty much any size, but the longer you leave them on, the larger they're going to get. So that's kind of a forgiving one too. What you kind of get in the danger zone is the turnips, rutabagas, carrots, that type of thing, where you can't see, and once you've harvested it, you can't shove it back in the ground and go grow some more.
Right. Right. That's very true. So winter squash. So this is like your butternut, acorn, patty pan. No, not patty pan. Yeah, patty pan is a winter squash.
Pumpkins.
Pumpkins. things like that. You want to, when the stem is thick and woody, and then when the skin is resistant to fingernail pressure. So the skin kind of becomes tougher, essentially. That's when you know.
Yeah, when you push your you push your fingernail in and it doesn't allow the fingernail to penetrate the skin, then you know it's ready to go. Or the other thing is it's been growing and frost is coming tomorrow night, like a hard frost. It's going to kill the plants, or a freeze. It's time to harvest everything you got, regardless if it's technically ready to go or not, because a squash that gets frozen outside and then thaws, that's compost material.
Right.
Walton's Inc. has what you need, and they are a sponsor of today's program.
We are brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's Inc. Listen, we know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables is great, but what about the meat? At waltonsinc.com, you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. Do you want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's has their website, meatjuststicks.com. It's an informational site to make you the best finished product. And they have a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers, and more to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's, everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, GROW50 to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.
Hang out with us. Maybe you're growing some common vegetables. We're going to talk about some unusual vegetables in which you can successfully grow in your garden. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now, 1-800-927-SHOW.
Azure Standard is America's premier family-owned online store for organic foods and healthy products for your home and garden. They deliver directly to families and commercial customers through over 3,500 drop points across all 50 states. Azure Standard strives to make grocery shopping easy, bringing all your needs to one convenient pickup location. As a trusted national health food distributor, Azure Standard offers bulk and specialty health foods to communities nationwide. With over 12,000 products, each one is approved and carefully sampled to ensure the highest quality. Azure Standard holds firm to non-GMO, organic, and natural standards. From food and beauty products to household items, nutritional supplements, animal care, hobby supplies, and even garden essentials, Azure Standard truly has everything for your daily living. Visit azurestandard.com, that's A-Z-U-R-E standard.com. Use promo code Joey and Holly 15 at checkout to get 15% off for new customers who open an account for the first time and place a minimum order of $100 or more, shipped to a drop location of your choice. That's code Joey and Holly 15 at azurestandard.com. Azure Standard is A-Z-U-R-E standard.com. Good garden tools make gardening easier. Wisconsin-made Cobra Head tools simplify weeding, cultivating, digging, and planting. Favorites of professional gardeners, Cobra Head tools are durable, ergonomic, and easy to work with. Visit CobraHead.com and use coupon code SOIL for 10% off your order. David J. Frank, Southeastern Wisconsin's leading landscape company, is a landscaper you need. Their award-winning services include everything from lawn care, landscape maintenance, design, construction, renovation, irrigation, sustainability, and more. Big or small, let the experts at David J. Frank handle the hard work for you. Find out more at davidjfrank.com. Wind River Chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more. Protect your plants from damage with the 3-in-1 Plant Guard and Special Blend Fertilizer. Visit ivorganics.com. Use promo code RADIO10 to save 10% off your order.
Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at jungseed.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to save 15% off your order at jungseed.com.
My garden hasn't looked this good in a decade. That's what gardeners are saying about Carricade. No extra fertilizers, no harsh sprays, just thriving plants and massive blooms. Rated 4.8 stars. Shop Carricade.com and use the code RADIO10, that's RADIO10, to save 10% off your order at Carricade.com.
Vermont Bean Company is a family-owned and operated gardening company with the largest selection of seeds online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at VermontBean.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at VermontBean.com.
Used to alleviate pain throughout history, the common milkweed has been rediscovered. Today, milkweed balm helps relieve pain and restore mobility naturally. Pure plant-based relief for aching joints, nerves, and muscles. Experience the healing power of nature. Try milkweed balm today. Use code GARDENING for 20% off your order at milkweedbalm.com.
One Sweet Earth makes the last garden bed you'll ever need. Strong, simple, sustainable. One Sweet Earth beds slide together in minutes. No tools, no rot, no junk. Durable, non-toxic, woman-owned, made in the USA. Visit onesweetearth.com. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. Missed any of those coupon codes? Want to find out more about the sponsors? You can certainly do that. Go to our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, underneath the Money tab and the Season 9 tab at the top of the page. Well, Holly, people grow traditional cucumbers and beans and zucchini every year. There are a number of quote-unquote uncommon or unusual vegetables in which one can grow in their garden in pretty much many zones across the country and be successful at it.
Absolutely. So we've grown a number of, I think we've grown all these. Yes. So the first one, I don't know, a lot of people seem to know about it, or some people do, is sunchokes or Jerusalem artichokes. And this is a root crop. It's in part of the dahlia family. It does put on a pretty flower, but you're not eating the flower, you're eating the root. And the root is kind of, it's like a
gnarly looking potato.
Yeah, looks like a gnarly potato. And it tastes like a less starchy potato with like a little bit of sweetness to it, not really. And if you roast these things, especially like in a pot roast, and that kind of au jus of the pot roast, they get this like really buttery taste. But we've also cooked them in the air fryer.
In chips now.
Yeah, like in chips, yeah.
You take, and no matter what you do, no matter how hard you scrub the dirt off, they're still going to have a dirt flavor.
They're very earthy.
So you want to peel that as much as you can. Then for the air fryer for Jerusalem artichoke chips, you can peel them and then dice them or cut them in chip-like sizes, rub them or douse them with olive oil, and then put them in the air fryer for however long you want them to go in and to the doneness that you want, from very loose to very crispy, soft to crispy. You can have whatever, and they taste, there is a little hint of that earthy flavor to them, but it really is a different type of potato chip or chip that you want to, type of dish.
Yeah. And so speaking of more root crops, yacons. So yacan is a South American root crop that we actually grow here in the upper Midwest. And it doesn't get as long as growing season as in South America, obviously. But it is another root crop. It's a little bit less starchy of a potato. I think this definitely has a sweeter flavor.
It has a watermelon apple carrot flavor to it. It looks like a sweet potato when you dig it up. In South America, you can get 15 to 30 pounds per plant. They grow up here 3 to 5 pounds in zone 4, 5, and 6. I've seen them. We were in 5, now we're in zone 6. They will put a flower on if allowed to grow for 6 consecutive months. We've missed that opportunity by about 3 weeks in 2016. They can be, you have yakan, what is it, syrup?
You could make yakan syrup. We made yakan pie.
Well, yakan,
was that the pie?
Yeah, it was the pie. Again, you peel them, and then you can dehydrate them and make chips out of them as well.
We fermented sunchokes, not yakans.
Right.
Yeah.
These yakans, they propagate by rhizomes in which you save in the fall before they freeze. You bring them inside, put them in sand. We put them in sand and put them in the stairwell of our attic where it gets 35 degrees even on the coldest days. That sand keeps it like a refrigerator. And then in the spring, 90 days before you're going to plant them outside, we start them in cups and then take and plant them out. And we've been doing this. We got 2 starts from a nursery in Oregon in 2014 and have been carrying on the generations year after year. with these.
I remember the yacon syrup now. So acas. This is that's a root crop, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Spell that out.
OCA.
Uh-huh.
These are kind of weird looking. They kind of look like, I don't know, like chunky potatoes in a weird way, but small.
Giant marbles.
Like marbles strung together.
Yeah, they're different colors. And we grew them for 1 or 2 years, I think it was. The challenge that we had was that they needed to grow. They grew like a big bundle above ground. It looked like a big wad of clover. And it needed frost or freeze, I forget what it was, in order for that to die off. And then over that 48-hour period, they like double in size underground. And they're red, and they're white, and they're yellow, and they're orange, and they're all different types. And they're native to the Andes. They are related to the potato. We grew them for I think 2 years, and then we ate them all, and we didn't save anymore because they were such a challenge for us to grow, store. They're one of the more difficult plants that we've grown in the storage process and the time frame and the whole thing that went along with it.
I would definitely agree. So then there's the Spanish radish.
Spanish radish, it's black, and it takes about 55 days. It's very different than a traditional plant radish that you grow.
Yeah, it's I forget how big it gets, but it's most radishes are usually red or white, or there's like the Easter egg radishes, which are kind of pastel color.
They're black, but they're white on the inside. And you can get these seeds. You can grow them pretty much anywhere. And we tried growing them one time, and I don't know why we didn't try to grow them. They're black Spanish radish, also known. They've been in the U.S. since the early 1800s, and it's just basically a very different looking type of radish. You would think it was a beet, unless you knew what you were growing.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this is some of these are the next couple ones are ones that maybe people do grow, but it's like not everybody grows them, and they're lesser known.
It's not the 1940s anymore.
Right, basically. Or like kohlrabi. Kohlrabi is very popular among, I think, German people, if I remember correctly, because of some dish they make. They make this like baked kohlrabi dish. Kohlrabi is a part of the brassica family, so it's not a root crop. It grows above the ground, and it looks like a green baseball with a bunch of different limbs coming off of it. Yeah.
Kohlrabi, kohlrabi.
So it's part of the cole family, which is the brassica family, which is also related to cabbage, broccoli,
kale,
all that. And it does taste like a cabbage, kind of.
It's very dense. People would I'll utilize it as cutting up in very thin pieces. You can pickle it, but also you can use it in stir fries, and it does have a very cabbage-like flavor to it. There are two varieties. There's a green and there's a burgundy. The green takes 50 days. The burgundy takes 55 days. And you can utilize the leaves of the kohlrabi, and they are more nutrient dense than the actual kohlrabi itself. However, by the time you harvest the kohlrabi, typically the leaves have been eaten up by bugs. And you don't want to wait and try to get, my kohlrabi is the size of a softball.
No.
It is going to be so woody that you're going to be able to use it for foundation of your new house.
This makes me want to get kohlrabi from the farmer's market because we haven't grown it for a while. It is good.
You can get it from starts as well at your garden center.
Right. So turnips say on rutabaga. These are another root crop. They have, I think that turnips and rutabagas have kind of a less starchy potatoey aspect to them.
But an earthy flavor.
Yeah, but a lot of people who eat low carb will make like fries out of turnip and rutabagas. I think rutabaga is a little bit bigger, so that's probably what
rutabagas take 90 days, turnips take 60 to reach maturity.
There you go. I can't remember which one was bigger. So I like rutabagas. Do you like rutabagas?
When you bake them, yeah. I'm not going to eat them like an apple.
I remember when I was getting my associate's degree in my late teens, early 20s, I had
Back in the day.
I lived in the dorm. It was one of the only tech schools in the state.
Tell us more stories, Mom.
That has a dorm. We had a little bit of time. And my friend's parents lived like, I think 30 minutes away or something. And we went to go visit her mom. And
They had a giant kohlrabi farm.
No, they didn't have a kohlrabi farm. Stop it. You're ruining the story.
Okay.
So we got there and she was like, I got these vegetables from the farmer's market or something. It was like fall. And she was like, I got you potatoes and then I got you this kohlrabi. And I was like, what in the heck is a kohlrabi? And this was
You never heard about this.
No, right. Yeah. This was like the early 2000s. So it's not like I had
year 2000.
I didn't have a cell phone because, we didn't have, I probably had a cell phone, but I
You were gonna Google it, but before Google was Google.
Because when did Google come around? 2005, I think? I forget. Anyway, whatever. That's not important. So then as we were getting ready to leave, she's like, and by the way, make sure you wash that kohlrabi because I dropped it when I was driving and it fell underneath my car seat and I don't vacuum underneath my car seat. And it's like, what does she do when she's driving? She drops it while she's driving. She just drive around holding the kohlrabi.
It's your friends.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Rutabaga, whatever it was. No, it was kohlrabi. So anyway, I don't even know what happened. It's not like we had...
Did you remember eating it?
I don't think I ate it. I think I was kind of scared of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, we worked hard to get through that one.
Because you kept cutting me off. Anyway.
It would have been better
if you enjoyed my story, please tell me. Yeah.
It would have been better if you had found a kohlrabi farm with a Bigfoot. Now that summer is here and the temperatures are warming up, it's time to protect your yard from those various beetles, weevils, and borers, including, yes, Japanese beetles.
And what better way to prevent these pests from destroying your garden than by controlling them while they're larvae? Grub Gone is an easy-to-apply granule product that can be spread on your turf to successfully control grub invaders. Developed by Phylum Bioproducts from naturally occurring bacteria, Grub Gone is a non-chemical BT product that specifically targets only scarab pests, and it's safe to use around bees and other beneficial insects.
If you've already got those beetles flying around your yard, and some of you do, Beetle Gone is the organic water dispersible powder that can be sprayed directly on your edible plants. Find out more at BeetleGone.com. That's BeetleGone.com. When we return, who we got coming up?
Danae Wolfe, and she is from Chasing Bugs.
Yep, bug expert. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Chip Drop is a website you can sign up for free wood chip mulch delivery right to your door for free. Chip Drop connects homeowners and gardeners with tree services who are trying to get rid of their wood chips. You can also sign up to get free logs and firewood. Go to chipdrop.com to learn more and sign up for a free account.
Make watering easy. DripWorks provides quality drip irrigation supplies and equipment to gardeners just like you for all your growing needs across the U.S. and Canada. Purchase online at dripworks.com.
Want the perfect lawn this summer? LawnSynergy.com is making it easy. They have fertilizers and grass seed formulated by professional landscapers. Visit LawnSynergy.com to get started. They'll tell you exactly what your lawn needs, when to apply it, and will deliver it right to your front door. LawnSynergy.com. Let's make the neighbors jealous. Mantis garden tiller cultivators are the perfect solution for any garden. With their gas-powered 2-cycle or 4-cycle engine, these powerful machines can till 9 or 16 inches of land without you breaking a sweat. And it doesn't stop there. Mantis's optional attachments allow you to aerate, plow, and more with the snap of a finger. Engineered with durability in mind, Mantis tiller cultivators will be your guaranteed garden companion for a long time. You can find more out and details at mantis.com.
Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Watering is the key to a healthy garden, but it can take up a lot of your time. Water less with soil moist. Grow beautiful plants with less water.
Soil Moist polymers reduce your plant's watering by 50%, reduce transplant shock and soil compaction, and are effective in your soil for 3 to 5 years. It is an effective watering management aid that is ideal for internal and external plantings, such as trees, shrubs, containers, baskets, flower beds, vegetables, and turf. Soil Moist acts as a form of insurance for your plants and is environmentally friendly. It is easy to apply at the time of planting or transplanting. Spend more time doing what you enjoy and let Soil Moist work smarter for you. Bolster your plant's nutrient and water uptake with Soil Moist. Enhance microbial and plant growth. No need to spend extra time worrying about watering your plants. Easy to follow instructions right on the label. To find where to purchase and to see all their products, contact your local garden center or visit soilmoist.com.
Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com.
Have insects such as aphids or fungal gnats invaded your plants? Fight back with Summit Year-Round Spray Oil and Summit Mosquito Bits. Organic Summit Year-Round Spray Oil kills insect pests on indoor and outdoor plants. All natural mosquito bits kill fungal gnats larvae in container plants. Both products are harmless to people, plants, and wildlife. Summit Year-Round Spray Oil and Summit Mosquito Bit are available at garden centers, hardware stores, and at SummitResponsibleSolutions.com. If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear, non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com. Tree Ivy Root Development System, the quickest way to get new trees on their feet. treeiv.com. Save your back. Easily and quickly remove trees and shrubs from your property with the Weed Wrench. Find it at weed-wrench.com. Made in the USA. Use coupon code WEED to save $10 off your Weed Wrench at weed-wrench.com. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along. Miss any of those coupon codes or want to find out more about those sponsors that support the program, you can find that out at our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Danae Wolfe is an award-winning conservation photographer. Through photography, public speaking, and writing, she teaches others about the beauty, diversity, and importance of insects and spiders while sharing ways to support these animals in the home landscape. Welcome to the program, Danae.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you with us. Now, I'll start with this. Now, I grew up on a farm and got a degree in photography and captured a lot of images. Where did your passion for insects and photography come from?
Yeah, so I've had a really long time passion for photography, but not for bugs, actually. So my parents bought me my first camera when I was around 12, and I always had this curiosity about plants specifically. So at the young age of 12 and through my early 20s, I was just always sort of attracted to photographing flowers. Now, it wasn't until I was probably around 20 or 21 when I got my first macro lens. So now I could kind of be up close and personal to the flowers that I had spent the last 10 years photographing. And for the first time, I really started to take note of bugs. And I spent my whole childhood hating insects. I absolutely loathed spiders as well. I had severe arachnophobia. But now I think from behind the lens of the camera, my entire perspective started to change. I could see the faces on the bugs and not just the scary sort of skittering creature. So it just kind of opened up this whole new world for me. And at the same time, I was pursuing an undergraduate degree in environmental studies. And for the first time in my life, I was learning about local ecology here in my hometown of Ohio. And I was just sort of connecting the dots between, hey, bugs are really cool. And now I'm studying environmental studies. I'm learning about the decline of biodiversity and the importance of insects. And I was like, other people need to know about this. So I think it really just sort of started to hone my photography. And then also kind of create the foundation for how I could begin to use photography as a tool for education and outreach.
And I joke with our niece and nephew that whenever I was young and we take family pictures and stuff, it took 2 weeks to find out if we all looked at the camera and didn't blink.
Right.
And they just can't fathom this instantaneous, take a picture, look at it. You had to wait? What?
Yeah, I know. So I started in the film days, and I know that feeling. I took way too many horrible shots of flowers only to find out weeks later, I didn't quite get the focus there. Digital photography really changed the landscape.
So, do you have a favorite insect or bug, or one that, you're like more, I guess, you find more interesting or
drawn to
photogenic, perhaps, or, just a general favorite?
Yeah, for sure. And there's actually different answers. So I love tree hoppers. Tree hoppers are one of my favorite types of insects, oak tree hoppers in particular, because they display maternal care. The mother will lay her eggs and then stay with them until they hatch, and the nymphs grow and eventually emerge as adults, which is just an incredibly endearing story. But truthfully, tree hoppers are not that charismatic. So while they're really fun to look at photographs of, they're not as fun to just photograph. So that sort of experience of being in the field, observing a bug and photographing it isn't as exciting. What I love actually sort of the experience of photographing is jumping spiders, because they're charismatic, they're adorable. The way they sort of cock their head like a little curious puppy dog, I just find so cute. So I love photographing jumping spiders, but I love tree hoppers in general just for sort of their life cycle and natural history.
And you bring up spiders, and we get this question often. I've got spiders in my garden. How do I get rid of them? You don't want to get rid of spiders. They are the exterminators of your garden.
Oh my gosh, the best pest control. Oh, wasps too. Wasps get such a bad rap. They're such amazing critters for pest control. We want the wasps. We want the spiders in our gardens.
I definitely agree. So speaking of getting rid of things, people will want to use pesticides, and just like us, you advise against that. Can you explain the impact of pesticides and on that they have on the insects on people's backyards?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the moral of the story here is that a lot of pesticides don't discriminate. And when I talk about pesticides, I'm really referring to sort of all pesticides collectively. So insecticides, rodenticides, herbicides. When we spray for pests, or what I like to call undesirables, we're often killing a lot of beneficial things too. They can drift onto non-target organisms. They affect the whole food chain, from the pollinators to the predators to the decomposers. And again, it's not just that we're killing the bad bugs or the weeds. A lot of these things start to migrate into our waterways. If we think about, treating with rodenticides, and okay, so we've treated the mouse problem, for example, or the voles or the moles. Well, then the owls come and eat those critters, and all of a sudden now the birds of prey are also poisoned. Or we're treating for all the bugs in our landscape. We have a lot of, proactive application of pesticides happening in our backyards. And oftentimes this is reinforced by that trail of door-to-door salesmen that are coming by telling us, hey, all your neighbors are treating, you should be too. So I think there's almost fear-based messaging there. We treat for the bugs, we get rid of the bugs, and guess what? We're also impacting the birds, and birds are in massive decline. Fish, reptiles, amphibians, all these things that rely on the bugs as a critical food source are now also starting to decline. So there's an alternative, right? We can create better balance in our ecosystems. And that's really the goal here, is to create this balance of sort of predator-prey relationships that happens naturally, instead of having to go out and use chemicals to treat these things and impact our own backyards and ecosystems in ways that we might not even fully understand.
Yeah, and these people come by and they want to spray your yard, but you can't be on it for 48 hours. But it's not really harmful to you. Don't worry about it.
Right.
I don't. And people are like, well, it's not that big of a deal. If you had one drop of oil, motor oil, in your glass of water, wouldn't that be a big deal to you? Same kind of concept. People are like,
a big deal.
Yeah, it's just a little bit here and there. Well, a little bit in a toxic matter can be exponentially damaging.
Exactly. And, the truth of the matter is we apply more pesticides per acre to our home landscapes to support sort of these botanical statues, right, than farmers apply to acres of agriculture. And we're getting food for a growing global population through agriculture. And we're getting, again, little more than like these botanical statues that are pretty to look at. So a lot of this, too, is just about redefining, I think, what we see as beautiful. For me, connection is beauty. When I see the nibbled leaves in my landscape, I'm like, oh, yay, my plant said something. That's great. So we have a lot of just education to do.
And yeah, education, because this is the way it's always been done. And, well, that's
Right.
where we're going to do it. Yeah, that's not always necessarily the best answer. Just because
Yep.
you're afraid of change doesn't mean that change could be the right answer.
Yep.
So your website is your and brand is Chasing Bugs. What is that all about?
Yeah, so the sort of moniker of Chasing Bugs came about because I've spent so much of my time literally chasing bugs through my garden to get a good photo of them, or other people's backyards or parks. But I think I was also chasing this idea that we can do something different, right? We don't have to follow these traditional methods of home landscape. We can chase this idea that the world can be different, that we can support insects and spiders and other, sort of historically undesirable critters in our home landscapes in ways that are going to help the planet. So it's really about, I think, the idea of approaching conservation with joy and wonder and awe, where a lot of conservation-based messaging tends to be really rooted in fear, right? We have these big scary terms like extinction and collapse and urgency. We need urgent action, and that can make people feel very, I think, disempowered. Like, what can I do as an individual? And what I tell people, like, start by just going into your backyard and observing, right? Look at the bugs, look at their faces, look at their behaviors, find joy and wonderment and awe in those small moments. And let that empower you to think and do differently.
Now, I'm going to ask you, because we've all done this. We saw this bug and everything. You're trying to get a picture. Have you ever talked to the bugs like, I'm not going to hurt you. I just want that one picture. Can you just please?
Oh my gosh. All the time. Like, or please just, like, beetles love to play dead, right? Like, please don't play dead. Please don't roll off this leaf. Just let me get your one picture and then you can go do your thing and I'll leave you alone.
Right.
That's so funny. So many people feel hesitant about growing native plants. Why is that? And are there any, there's not really any common misconceptions, or what are the common misconceptions? Talk to us about the benefits of growing those native plants.
Yeah, there's so many common, I think, myths and misconceptions about native gardening and gardening for wildlife. And first and foremost, I think that people have this idea that we're talking about a very hands-off approach, right? We're saying, store away your mower, don't do anything, don't do garden cleanup, and you'll just naturally bring nature back to your yard. Now, there's a lot to unpack here. First and foremost, people think this is going to be messy and it's going to attract more undesirables like mice or ticks or snakes. And a lot of neighbors might not love that. They just don't like the look of messier gardens. So I think that's one sort of myth and misconception, but also just the idea of all it takes is you not having to do anything. There's certainly things that we can do less of, like garden cleanup, including things like, leaving our leaves. We don't have to go out there and rake up every leaf as they fall because leaves are habitat. We can mow a little bit less frequently, but just doing nothing isn't going to bring this beautiful, thriving ecosystem back to your backyard, right? What you're probably going to get is a lot of non-natives that have established themselves around the landscape, maybe even in your yard. So we have to be really thoughtful about it. But again, breaking down this myth that this is really messy and unkempt and it's going to, attract a lot of pests, not if you do it well and right. I think that there are ways that we can be very intentional. We can still have highly curated, well-maintained gardens that provide a ton of benefits and still look beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, and still kind of align with those community standards. Now, on the opposite end of the spectrum, though, I think we need to break down one myth that we often hear, which is, gardening with native plants requires no maintenance. You don't need to water, you don't need to fertilize, you don't need to do anything. You just pop them in the ground and they survive. That's not necessarily true. We want to put the right plant in the right place, and then we can, once established, obviously reduce those inputs like watering. But you still have to be choosing the right plants and putting them in the right place to get to that point where there's not going to, be a requirement of a ton of inputs. So yeah, lots of myths abound, but a lot of this really just comes down to we're really restoring ecosystem function. And yes, you're inviting a lot of critters back to the landscape. So it goes back to this idea of redefining what we find beautiful. The plants are going to be eaten, and that needs to be a marker of beauty.
And you bring up the leaf, raking the leaves, and every neighborhood has this one person. 75 leaves have fallen on the ground, and they spend an hour cleaning them up. When the tree has still got all the leaves, and the next morning they're all on the ground, or wind blows and all the leaves. So I don't understand that concept of let's get all the leaves cleaned up. That just seems like just a wasteful time.
I know, if you have trees, you should have leaves in your yard.
So I'll ask you this: what are some simple things that people can do to attract pollinators and support them? I'm going to guess like the default answer is plant more flowers, but what other additional things can someone do?
Yeah, I mean, start small. Don't try to kind of attack your whole landscape overnight. I'm an impatient person, so when I moved into our home 9 years ago, I was like, I need to do it all overnight. Recognize that you can start in one small patch. Maybe it's a 10 by 10 foot plot, and you put the native plants back there. Beyond the planting native, though, there's some very simple things that you can do, like leaving some bare soil in maybe a less conspicuous spot of your landscape to support things like ground nesting bees. Majority of our bees are those solitary nesters that nest in cavities. Many of them nest in the ground too. So you want to create habitat for them. We already talked about things like delaying your garden cleanup and mowing less frequently, leaving your leaves. Also making sure that you're like shutting off any outdoor unnecessary lights, especially overnight. Light pollution is of increasing concern, especially for species here in the Midwest, like our flashing fireflies. If you want fireflies, you got to leave the leaves, you got to reduce the light pollution, and you need to have things like slugs and snails because that's what firefly larvae feed on. So again, it goes back to not using those pesticides, create really that balance in the ecosystem. My book, Grass Isn't Greener, there's 20 different chapters, and every chapter covers something else that you can do, something different. And it goes so far beyond just planting native. There's so much that we can do that is quite frankly, I think pretty easily approachable. I think most people would be surprised that it doesn't take everything all at once. You can do little things here and there, and you'll create a thriving ecosystem right in your backyard.
Fantastic. Well, we've really enjoyed having you on the program. How can people find out more about you?
Yeah, people can learn more about me and my work at chasingbugs.com. I share a lot of articles and resources about planting for wildlife, including things like how to get up close and personal with insects and take better photographs of them. You can also find me on most major social media platforms at Chasing Bugs as well.
Okay, well, we really appreciate having you on the program, and thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. I loved our conversation.
Absolutely. And when we return, it's going to be your garden questions and our garden answers. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Do you have pets trying to leave your fenced area or pests trying to enter your fenced area or garden? Dig Defense provides peace of mind that your pets are contained safely and humanely in your yard, and other animals or pests stay out. With several sizes to pick from, Dig Defense is the easy, safe way to extend the protection of your fence, protecting your pets and your property. Find out more at stopthedig.com. Edmonds Roses is a family-owned and operated rose company with the largest selection of roses online. Use coupon code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at edmondroses.com. That coupon code is 15TG25 to save 15% off your order at edmondsroses.com. 4-Jar Canning Supply, your one-stop shop for all your canning needs, where old ways meet new in every jar. They are a family with decades of home canning experience, offering top-quality products and outstanding service. Never run out of canning lids again. Whether you're a seasoned canner or just starting out, their extensive range of canning products will elevate your canning game. 4JARs.com. Inspired by the homemade preserves of our childhoods, they want to share that same joy with you. They deeply care about your family's health and understand the importance of homemade, nutritious meals. That's why they offer high-quality products to help you preserve your food. quality canning lids, pressure canners, vacuum seal machines, and all the tools you need to get the job done. 4 Jars has you covered. Our canning lids provide the perfect airtight seal for any regular, wide, or gym-sized jar. With the thickest lids on the market, they provide long-lasting freshness, up to 18 months, and are rust-resistant, ensuring your preserves stay secure. Use code 4JARS25 to save 10% off your order at 4jars.com. That's FORJARS25 to save 10% off your order at 4jars, FORJARS.com.
Want bigger blooms and better yields? Without the hassle, Carricade makes gardening easy with eco-friendly, effective solutions. Rated 4.8 stars, trusted by growers like you, shop Carricade.com and use the code RADIO10, that's RADIO10, to save 10% off your order at Carricade.com. A non-selective herbicide that is also USDA Bio-Preferred certified? You bet. Say goodbye to Roundup and hello to No More Weeds by Naturally Green Products. No More Weeds kills weeds with no harsh chemicals and no glyphosate. Safe around pets, No More Weeds has a proprietary sticking agent to use around gardens, pools, decks, patios, anywhere there are weeds. Available online at natgreenproducts.com, Amazon, and Walmart.com. Order yours today. The same great company that brings you no more bugs. R.H. Shumway is a family-owned and operated gardening company with a large selection of seeds and plants online. You can use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at rhshumway.com. That's code 15TG25. Roots and Rhizomes is a family-owned and operated gardening company specializing in daylilies, irises, and perennials. Use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at rootsrhizomes.com. That's code 15TG25. Totally Tomato is a family-owned and operated gardening company with the largest selection of tomatoes online. Use code 15TG25 to receive 15% off your order at totallytomato.com. That's code 15TG25.
One Sweet Earth makes the last garden bed you'll ever need. Strong, simple, sustainable. One Sweet Earth beds slide together in minutes. No tools, no rot, no junk. Durable, non-toxic, woman-owned, made in the USA. Visit onesweetearth.com. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Happy that you've been part of the program today. Want to visit those coupon codes or find out more information about the sponsors that support our program to allow you to hear it on your radio station, the podcast, the radio app each and every week? The WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Holly, let's see what we can get through the top of the hour. It's garden question and answer time. You got a question, send it on over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call toll free, coast to coast at 1-800-927-SHOW. Either one, 1-800-927-SHOW or gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
You got a question, we got an answer. This is our first year growing veggies, and it's mostly because my kids are really interested. I'm more of an indoor plant girl myself. I would really like instructions on what veggies do well being planted together. Like if you have some sort of chart or resources related to that, I'd greatly appreciate it. So,
companion planting, there is some science behind that, but it's not the science in which many of us have come to be pushed to understand. Oh, you plant this next to this, and this makes it sweeter. You know, you're wanting to grow fragrant items next to plants in which have pest problems. Rosemary or thyme or basil around squashes to prevent the squash vine borer from laying its larvae in the stem. We've never personally went and said, okay, here is a raised bed. We've got potatoes, we've got onions, we've got tomatoes. What can't we not plant next year? We just fill the beds in. I've got a bed with potatoes, onions, and leeks. I'll have a bed with all tomatoes in one, and peppers in one, and peppers and eggplants in another. So there's not necessarily, the charts can get very confusing because there's 30 charts and 28 different combinations because all this stuff. What you want to look at is the benefit of
you want to do a search, benefit of companion planting, not companion planting charts. That's going to give you more of a breakdown of here's why you plant basil next to squash. Here's why you plant this next to this, if you're concerned about that. If it's not really something that if you do it wrong, your plants are going to die, that's not what's going to happen. There can be a potential problem with bugs being more attracted to one than the other. Like you grow radishes next to spinach, so the leaf miner will attack the radish leaves and not the spinach leaves, that type of thing. So it's one of those yes and no, and it doesn't hurt if you don't do it the way the charts say it. Do you have any tips on getting rid of grasshoppers?
So you want to control them you can use natural preventive measures. You can attract beneficial insects like robber flies and other predators such as spiders and toads, which will help keep these grasshopper populations in check.
A little water reservoir, but you got to worry about the mosquito issue. Yeah. But some it's got that covered, some responsible solutions.
You can also use natural repellents like a garlic spray or a hot pepper spray. And you want to consider... There's pepper sprays, not like defensive or bear spray. There's actually other sprays that you can utilize. And then and then you could add flour to the plant leaves, and obviously the flour will wash off if it rains. But what happens is if you apply that flour, it'll gum up their mouths, and then they don't enjoy that, so they'll go somewhere else.
Or they die.
Yeah. You can also use netting. Netting is something that will help keep a lot of pests at bay.
The thing you want to be aware of about the netting is make the diameter of the squares or the circles in the netting. If it's too big, it's just going to keep birds out and all the insects are going to go in. So there's different sizes, and you need to be aware of what size is best to prevent the problem in which you're facing. For this instance, the grasshopper, you want to get a relatively smaller size because they can slide in there. So be aware of that with grasshopper repellent mechanisms. And there's combination. You can do several different combinations as more of a secured measure of, hey, here's what I'm going to do 1, 2, and 3 in order to prevent the grasshoppers from invading the garden. First time growing hardneck garlic. I understand there is a thing called escape, and I'm supposed to harvest it at some point before I dig the plant up. What can you tell me?
So what will happen is you'll get this growth, this little bulbous growth at the top of your garlic plant, and it looks like almost like a teeny tiny little onion inside of the
onion green.
The green of the garlic. And once you see those, you want to trim those off, and you can eat those. And then what will happen after that, like a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks later, you'll start to see the yellowing of the leaves of the garlic, and then it means it's time to harvest.
Now, you can harvest that scape at any duration of length, but some people wait and get a little more length out of it, and before it starts to curl, they'll harvest it in order to get more material off of it. Now, this only is applicable for hardneck garlic. This does not apply. Softneck garlic does not create a scape. A softneck garlic, when ready, it falls over and pinches the stem like elephant garlic and spring onions, like normal bulbing onions. So it is a delicacy. There's things you can do with this garlic scape. You can make garlic scape pesto, but you've got to really like garlic because there's a lot of garlic flavor. It's very intense.
You really would have to cut it with like spinach or basil, like a lot of it, even kale pesto, things like that.
Really like 50-50.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, garlic scapes are also good grilled and stir fried. There's a lot of different things you can do with garlic scapes.
And if you do grow your garlic and you've never grown homegrown garlic before, and we always tell people family members, when we give garlic, however you use it, whatever your recipe says, half the use. Use half of what your recipe says, because the flavor is so rich and intense that you will overpower your dish.
We don't know what garlic is, which variety we have.
Yeah, we've got
anymore.
like 6 varieties that we just keep saving and regrowing. Well, we are out of time, and we thank you for yours. Miss any portion of the program or would like to revisit it, you can certainly do that by going to your favorite podcast platform and searching the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show, or head over to our parent website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, under the Season 9 tab at the top of the page. Tune into the program next week where we will be discussing composting, making it, yes and no that can or can't go in, as well as gardening maintenance over the summer. Our guest is popular former host of PBS's Growing a Greener World, Joe Lampo, will be with us and will answer your garden questions. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.